3.7 in this tutorial, which is a real tough question, but hopefully from watching this, you'll have a better understanding of what we're expecting to see in your answer when you next complete your second assessment. Okay, so let me share my screen with you and we'll get started. Right, okay, here we go. So question 3.7 of specimen assessment material 1 reads as follows. So what you need to do with this question is you first of all need to study figure 12, which is a sketch map showing the features of coastal deposition. Okay, so it shows you landforms created by material being dropped off when the waves have lost energy. Now the examiner wants you to use this figure and your own knowledge to explain how different landforms may have been created by the transport and deposition of sediment along the coast. Now, a lot of words there, so let's just try and break that down a little bit. Now, you need to actually use the figure in your answer. And by that, we mean you need to relate your knowledge to this sketch map by using some of the information the examiners have given you. So they've given you a compass rose in the northwest of the diagram here. So you may want to use directions in your answer to explain perhaps the way in which the longshore drift is occurring. Okay, they've also given you a scale, so you might want to measure the length of some of the landforms or perhaps the distance sediment has travelled. And they've also given you the direction of prevailing wind, something which is crucial for you to answer to explain how these landforms have been created along this coastline. So you must relate the direction of prevailing wind to the movement of longshore drift. Okay, so with it being 6 marks, you need to show that you understand how more than one of the depositional landforms have been created, and you also need to then apply your knowledge to the scenario here. Okay, now if you wrote about how headlands or bays had been created, or perhaps how caves, arches, stacks and stumps may have formed along these headlands here and here, then you would not have been able to gain any marks. The reason being is that you are explaining how landforms have been created through the process of erosion, the wearing away of the land. However, here you need to demonstrate that you understand how landforms have been created through transport, so the movement of material, and then deposition, so when the waves lose energy, the material will be dropped off. Okay, so I'm first of all going to explain why there's a spit in the southwest of the diagram. Okay, now to understand this, you need to be aware of the process of longshore drift. Longshore drift is where the waves move up the beach at an angle, which is determined by the direction of the prevailing wind, which in this sketch map you can see is coming from the southwest. As the waves move up the beach at an angle, sediment which is entrained within the swash will also be moved up the beach, transported up the beach, and then it will move perpendicular to the coastline within the backwash. So this diagram here actually explains it and shows it quite clearly, and there's also a few videos that you could watch to see this in motion. So just like in the sketch map, in this diagram here, you can see that the prevailing wind is coming from the southwest. Okay, because of that, the waves move up the beach along the same angle, in the same direction. So a pebble, which perhaps is here, will move up the beach within the swash and then move back out to sea within the backwash. It will then be picked up by another wave and move up the beach again and down again. Now, because of this, sediment sediment can move along the coastline. So in this diagram here, you can see that it is moving from the west, to the east. Okay, and here's another diagram which perhaps shows it a little bit more clearly. So if we link that back to your figure, in your answer, you might explain how this spit has formed by saying that the direction of the prevailing wind is coming from the southwest. Therefore, longshore drift is moving sediment towards the east. As the coastline has changed direction, sediment continues to be deposited out to sea, forming a long, thin, ridged feature, landform, known as a spit. Okay, you might then use the scale to measure the distance of the spit to show that you're linking your understanding to that photograph. So the second thing I want to talk about is this question here. So why is there a beach in between the two headlands? Now, this beach here is formed within a bay because the headlands are protecting the bay from oncoming waves. So the waves were moving across this coastline from the southwest towards the northeast. The waves will hit this headland here first. They will lose energy and then slowly roll into the bay and deposit the sediment, forming a beach. So this is a sheltered environment, protected from strong waves as a result of these headlands, particularly this one here on the left-hand side. Okay, so it is a depositional environment, it's low energy, sediment can be deposited because the waves have lost energy as they have hit this headland here first. Okay, and finally, within this tutorial, I want to talk about why a bar has formed in the north of this coastline here. So just like in the southwest of the diagram, longshore drift will be moving sediment towards the east in the north of the diagram. Okay, so this bar would have started off as a spit extending out to sea, but it has been able to join up with the opposing side of the coastline here, as there isn't an outflow of water in the form of a river coming down from the land here, pushing the sediment out to sea. So because there isn't a river here, the sediment has built up over time, forming a bar. And we call this trapped area of water behind the bar a lagoon. Okay, now if this river wasn't here, coming down, flowing out to sea, here's the mouth of the river, then potentially this offshore bar here could have been a bar. However, because of the outflow of water, the sediment has been pushed out to sea, stopping that landform from being created. Okay, so I hope this tutorial has helped you. I definitely advise giving this question a second attempt or even a third attempt. It is quite complicated, as the examiner does want to see you applying your knowledge to an unseen scenario, and you need to use the information that they've given you in that figure within your answer.